The Girl Who Ate Death by Nanasawa Matari. Chapter 3. Roasted beans are fairly delicious. Antigua Branch Castle, back gate. A single soldier, ascertaining the state of the vicinity, beckoned with his hand and called his comrade. The guard, who should have been the gatekeeper at this time, sent a signal with a light shake of his head and took out a key. It was not a key to the stiff, shut-off castle gates. It was for the small but sturdy iron gate built nearby. It was a small door that was forbidden to be opened unless in dire circumstances. The guard, burdened with the duty of guarding this very gate, opened it for the soldiers who decided to escape. This gatekeeper had colluded with the Liberation Army and was appointed with the covert duty of lowering morale and offering his kind services to deserters. This was a scene that had repeated itself many times already. The guard system inside the castle was quite slack, and this evening as well there was nothing happening and should have ended as usual with him seeing off the deserting soldiers. So you do not get found by the lookouts. In a moment, stoop and go forward. In a dilapidated house deep in the North Forest is a contact on standby. Here's a map until there. Once it's not needed, make sure to destroy and dispose of it. When the gatekeeper handed them a map, a man received it and took a glance. Sorry. You've saved us. Also, give these documents to the guy on standby. The Cluder took out an envelope with the documents inside. Yeah, I understand. The surveillance is weak, but be cautious enough. You, over there. What's going on? In the middle of handing over the documents, a voice unsuited to the occasion spoke to the men. They felt like their hearts would stop. The gatekeeper and the deserters turned in that direction. If I'm correct, you guys were from the 11th Infantry Platoon, I believe. Where are you heading out to, carrying that kind of luggage? Are you guys also going on a stroll to gaze at the stars, I wonder? You are the 13th Infantry Platoon's... Oi, wait, this person is okay. The still very young man, who was in a posture as if ready to draw his sword at any moment, seeing Shira's figure, let out a large sigh of relief. He was relieved, since she would let them go. The gatekeeper did not relax his vigilant gaze. If she let out a loud voice, he planned to kill her. Everything would be over if she made a racket. Temporary Second Lieutenant Shira. Ah, the kid who had an annoying job pushed onto her. Isn't the temporary just so tear-jerking? It's become a topic in other platoons as well. How long does she have to live, they say. She's also become a target of some bets. More importantly, what's going on? Asked Shira, smiling while putting her large scythe on her shoulder. Isn't it obvious? We're running away from this shitty army. Everyone wants to be on the winning side, right? Rumor has it that the Empire will be joining soon. At this rate, we'll die a dog's death. We'll join the Royal Capital Liberation Army. I heard that one can earn a lot of money. Sorry, but I have no intent of dying for this kingdom. All the group members have agreed. We have appropriate weapons as gifts as well as food. We probably won't be treated badly. The man, who seemed to be the leader, with his hand patted the bag on his back with a pumph. Shira, who had heard their response, nodded several times, having understood the situation. I see. Well then, this is where we say farewell. You wanna come too? You'll just die somewhere at this rate. Hey, one of the deserters spontaneously retorted. He was worried that their extraneous burdens would increase. We can't just leave her like this. She's an eyewitness to our crime. Hey, you don't mind if we bring one more person, right? The gatekeeper frowned when the platoon leader asked, but as there was no recourse, he nodded his head. It's not in the plan, but there's no recourse. Killing women and children is unsettling as one would expect. However, just you. You may not call any others of your group members. So he says. You're coming, of course. We as small fry have absolutely no obligation to an army like this. I guess. Then I'll be coming along. Most likely it'll be a short while, but take care of me. With a bright, sweet smile, Shira expressed her consent. The men nodded in assent, and they escaped quietly out the side door. Desertion was a serious crime. If exposed to the military, arguing would be useless. Capital punishment. The deserters stifled their breathing and hurried to the woodlands while pressing their bodies into the grass. There was nothing more difficult than moving with unwieldy baggage, but they couldn't go on empty-handed. Shira had her large scythe as well, and she was no different from the men. "Hey, Miss Temporary Second Lieutenant Shira, how about throwing away that outlandish, gargantuan scythe? Isn't it a constant pain in the butt?" "Without this, I cannot fight." Shira gently brushed the handle of her scythe. The man, while shocked, whispered, "Geez, fine, I'll let you carry that scythe, since you wanted to. You don't look the part, though. Once we reach the Liberation Army, hurry up and go back to your village. I won't think any less of you." "I'll keep that in consideration." "Platoon leader, isn't that it over there?" One of the group members reported while opening the map to confirm their current position. There was a large tree with an X gashed into it to serve as a landmark. Though it was dark and they couldn't see well, 30 strides away from them there was a single large tree standing out amidst many smaller trees. The deserting soldiers started silently walking, aiming at their landmark tree while trying not to make any noise. They had gradually reached the point further than the surveillance of the kingdom's soldiers, but they did not relax their guard even until the end. This was the sole thing they had learned from the armed forces. It was the key to survival. "Certainly this incision seems like it was made by a human. So we turn left here?" "Yes, most likely this way, I think. There's some kind of animal trail. Only around here there are some random footprints left behind. It seems like we'll arrive if we follow these." Despite the enemy conducting their operations so close, they didn't notice at all. How comfortable. "Are the heads of our leaders hollow?" muttered the platoon leader while stroking the large tree with his hand. All of the group members spoke up in agreement. "I can guess why our surprise attack was found out." Our decision to escape was spot on. To have been able to choose the correct choice at the moment, we are blessed men. If I make it home, I'll pray to the stars. This is God's favor to us devouts. Praise the star god. Here. These men had left behind families. They did not want to die in vain, to die a dog's death. Even though they would be called traitors, survival was everything. This compulsive thought was shared by everyone. Shira was happily gazing at the scene from a place slightly distant from them, all while fiddling with her beloved scythe perched on her shoulders. Incidentally, her stomach was empty, and she tossed into her mouth the preserved roasted beans that she had been carrying with her. The beans this time were just a little salty. It was not good, but it seemed like it was also not bad. "All right, our break is over. Let's tear up the map and bury it. A promise is a promise. Leave no traces behind. Understood?" "Hey, Shira, don't just be eating those beans. Help us out a bit." One member of the group complained to Shira, who was leisurely chewing her beans. Instead of a response, she struck out with the point of the large scythe and made a small hole. "So that scythe is a substitute for a hoe? If you get home, make sure to help your parents out. As long as they live, give them the proper respect," he said with a touch of a preaching tone while turning his gaze in Shira's direction. The map was torn, put in the hole, then violently covered with soil. They tamped on the soil with their military boots. They dealt with it in a way to not leave any vestiges behind. That's good enough," signaled the end for everyone. "If I feel like it." "Start putting in some effort and feel like it." "Okay. By the way, are you my dad?" "I have a cute son waiting for me at home. Sorry, but I can't be your dad. Go find a nice guy with your own power." "Very unfortunate." While having this frivolous talk, Shira tried imagining her formerly existing parents. However, she couldn't dig up any memories. She did not particularly think it unfortunate in the slightest, however. Her hatred toward the Royal Capital Liberation Army was certain. Her recollections of her village being destroyed were certain. Nevertheless, she could not remember the faces of any of the people who should have been there. She did not think that sad. What she could recall that was sad was only that deathly sense of hunger. Yes, the only thing she recalled was that maddening feeling of starvation. Shira silently threw the last bean in her mouth. She violently crushed it and was not aware of its taste. Liberation Army Intelligence Corps, a concealed, dilapidated house. Normally, only scouts would use this spot, but this evening a single commander of the Liberation Army, Colonel Voleur, was visiting for an inspection in the face of the enemy. Voleur was a senior military officer sent from the Empire's army as reinforcement. He had a tall physique and his muscles were bulging. The military genius he was born with had been habitually tempered and then further polished. His skill with the spear was recognized as distinguished even among all of the Empire. As a spearmanship instructor, he also served as the instructor for second-in-command 2nd Prince Alan. His fortitude and vigor were beloved by the soldiers, and he also possessed talent as a commander. Well done continuing your task late into the night. I come to ascertain the situation with Antigua Brant's castle with my own eyes. Colonel, your Eminence need not have come. The situation here is the same as usual. Please, use this. I will. One scout passed a spyglass to Voleur. This magical tool that had a special enhancement placed on it could project the scenery across the lens like it was daytime. It was a technology excavated from a certain labyrinth city. It was an item permitted to be held only by commissioned officers tethered to the Empire's intelligence corps. I view everything through the lens of, is this a trap meant to lower our guards? Please, take a look at the main tower over there. Voleur turned the spyglass in the direction that the intelligence corps member pointed out. Inside the rampart walls was a blatantly conspicuous tower. It was surely a watchtower used to discover the enemy. However, the lookout was leaning against the wall with not a single movement. The lookout is sleeping on the job? Has discipline fallen apart? Voleur murmured with an amazed tone while ascertaining the state of affairs of Antigua Branch Castle through the spyglass. It is quite rare for there to be a lookout that takes his post seriously. While we are maintaining a sense of tension, it is making it quite hard. Nevertheless, absolutely do not be negligent. The enemy must as well have someone incredibly sharp. The kingdom would have never lasted up until today otherwise. The enemy must as well have someone incredibly sharp. The kingdom would not have lasted up until today otherwise. Voleur passed the spyglass back to the scout and gave a warning. Orders understood, Colonel Voleur. Something tripped our cordon. I'll go confirm immediately. The special warning cordon had been developed according to the Empire's sorcery technology, and it had been uniformly laid out around the perimeter of the dilapidated house. One subordinate man utilized a spyglass and went to identify that something. They appear to be deserters mentioned by a contact. They number 11. There is one person more than the contact indicated. There were people who deserted before, too. At this critical moment, these guys are also deciding to, After asking them the usual questions, lead them to the Liberation Army headquarters. Don't forget to take their documents from the spy. Understood. The intelligence corps, has it been guiding the deserters? Voleur inquired while rubbing his chin. Yes, orders from our tactician. We are to act to further pressure interior collapse. The number of deserters have already surpassed 1,000. Of the betrayers we received contact from, there have even been those who have reached a superior rank after starting from the bottom. At any rate, the fruits of our efforts should be apparent. There were a great many people who held animosity toward the kingdom. It had been easy to take advantage of them. The people who naturally came to sell out the kingdom were not few. That's so. So the kingdom has started rotting from the inside. Yes, it is exactly as you say. A giant tree could have an imposing appearance on the outside, but could be completely decomposed on the inside. Even if nothing was done to it, it would miserably wither, and its collapse would only be a matter of time. In that case, the intelligence corps was responsible for the duty of hastening that process. I would like to ask the deserters about the situation inside. Do you mind? I am not quite in agreement. There is no way those guys have sworn loyalty to the princess. As they ran away because of their dissatisfaction. I am just saying this in case, the intelligence corps member warned. but Voleur shook his head sideways, saying there was nothing to fear. What if we were sneak attacked by the deserters? I am also a man who takes that into consideration. I will have you let me ask them for information, with these ears firsthand. Understood. However, please allow us to accompany you. If anything were to happen to the colonel, we would be held responsible. When the group member cracked a smile, Voleur dryly laughed. When you have a subordinate with a strong sense of responsibility, it's quite troubling. When one has a strong-willed superior officer, there are various troubles. Voleur exited the small shed, and the Intelligence Corps members on standby followed after him. I am Colonel Voleur, member of the Empire Loyalty Battalion of the Royal Capital Liberation Army. Are you the people who have come from Antigua Branch Castle? Yes, that is correct. We have escaped from the castle to join the Liberation Army spearheaded by Princess Alteria. From now on, we will expend our lives and fight for the Royal Capital Liberation Army, shamelessly fibbed the platoon leader. Voleur knew that, yet he solemnly nodded his head. After all, as far as a single private soldier was concerned, hegemony wars were just that kind of thing. We heartily welcome the arrival of comrades of the same mind. Hereon, under the Liberation Army, I would like you to freely wield your strength. Sir. The platoon leader and the rest of the soldiers respectfully bowed. Voleur gazed over the faces of all of them, one by one. But his gaze stopped, on a single soldier holding a peculiar weapon. Girl, what's so funny? Will you let me hear? I'm asking you why you had that smile plastered on your face this entire time. What's so funny, you ask? Everything. It's so amusing, I just can't help it. What? I mean, we have escaped from the castle to join the Liberation Army. He said something like that so seriously, yet he ran away because he didn't want to die in reality. Shira laughed while holding her stomach, no longer able to hold back. The Intelligence Corps members on standby scowled and reached for their personal weapons. If she continued her disrespect any further, they planned to immediately dispose of her. Hey, that's impolite. Shira, stop! The platoon leader reached out his hand to restrain Shira, but she sharply swatted it away. Oh no, could a dog of the rebel army not touch me? You're not my ally anymore, after all. Hey, Shira, are you being serious? You. So you haven't come to join our Liberation Army? Voleur posed the question. As killing intent had been released from Shira, this would be the final question. He grasped the spear tightly and strengthened his grip. It isn't clear that I haven't, all this sneaking around. I've come to hunt you eyesore hounds. The larger the prey, the sooner I can become distinguished, right? Hey, Shira, no, that's not it. Please, forgive her somehow. This person is a little disabled in the head. The platoon leader went to plead for Shira's life, but she swept him away, saying he was an annoyance. Can you not treat people like idiots? Being protected by a dog, it kinda hurts my feelings. Seeing this play out, Voleur let out a large sigh. So that's your answer. It seems you've gone mad due to the stormy army life. Now, I'll give you peace. Please, stop, Colonel. For someone like this, we'll deal with her. Your worry is not needed. I at least have some pity. I cannot bring myself to raise my hand against a girl of such tender age, but there is no other remedy. Her appearance is already like that of a rabid dog. I can't bear to look. With a wave of his hand, Voleur stopped the Intelligence Corps members and took a stance with easy movements. After several seconds, Shira would die. She would be no match for such a large man, and furthermore a Liberation Army's colonel. Nothing could be done for the deserters anymore. They would get implicated and die, surely. What they could do was only swallow the saliva held in their mouths due to tension and ascertain Shira's final moments. However, Shira, despite their worry, took a step forward with a cheerful expression. Hoo-hoo, for the sake of my delicious food. Sorry, but will you die for me? She mightily flourished the large scythe held in her hands. Her lips warped, and she pointed her scythe at Voleur.